Logan Zakar entered the world in February of 2009. Like most newborns, he was healthy and ready to begin life's journey and take on the world. But as Logan grew and developed, his mother observed that something about her son was not quite right.
In the beginning, Logan was born prematurely, and he was very slow to make any noises, to coo, to just about anything. Once he hit 2 years old, we started to be concerned because he wasn't really speaking. Anything that he did say was very hard to understand, especially for anyone that was not family. So what we had done is we had taken him to our pediatrician, and she had suggested he start speech therapy. And the waiting list through our doctor was almost a year. So she had said her son actually had gone to Easter Seals, and that's what she said. She said she would recommend that we try to get in here, so that's what we did.
On the recommendation of her pediatrician, Lindsay made the call to Easter Seals of Northern Ohio. Although she was not aware that Easter Seals was a resource for speech therapy, she did not want to wait a year to get the help her son so desperately needed.
Hey Logan, how are you? Are you ready for speech?
So many people, when they call or ask, what I do, and I tell them I'm a speech therapist, they're surprised because they just think of Easter Seals as a place to donate their clothes, and they just didn't even realize that we provided services like speech therapy.
We had an evaluation, and he was significantly delayed, especially with articulation. He wasn't even scoring on a chart. So he was evaluated, and we started with 1 day a week of speech for Logan, and then eventually we ended up going with 2 days a week.
When he first started coming, I couldn't understand anything he said. There was a couple times, we would walk out into the therapy room and ask his mom, Logan is telling me this, what is he saying? And sometimes even the mom had no idea what he was saying, but usually based on what we were talking about or her experience, what had happened the weekend, she could tell me what he was saying. And now that we've been in therapy for 2 to 3 years, I understand almost everything he says. There's very rarely a time that I don't understand what he's saying.
Do you have baseball?
Go fish, I don't have a baseball.
Boom.
What'd you get?
Baseball.
All right, let's do baseball 5 times.
Baseball, 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 baseball. Baseball.
Good. How were those S's?
Good.
Good. Were you able to keep your tongue in your mouth for those S's?
Mhm.
Awesome.
He's able to say almost every sound that we've worked on. He's carrying those over into conversation. So now it's more just articulation.
When he had first started coming, he was so shy. He didn't want to speak in front of anyone, because if you wouldn't understand him the first time, which almost no one could at that point, he would just shut down and he wouldn't speak to anyone. He was so painfully shy. It was very hard for him to be able to go anywhere. So now he is a happy little guy who runs around and talks to everyone.
Logan's future looks bright. He is progressing quite well with his speech therapy sessions. He entered kindergarten in 2014 and attends school with enthusiasm and confidence.
Yes, before he would not talk to the other kids. He would just go and he would stay by himself and nothing. Now he runs up to every little kid and says, "Hi, my name's Logan," and blah, 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 and tells them all about everything.
Logan's speech impairment was only a minor bump in the road. With assistance from Easter Seals of Northern Ohio, he will continue his sessions to fine-tune his speech, and he will continue his life's journey to take on the world.
I just can only think it's going to help them tremendously, when school and then communicating as an adult, being able to say what you want to say clearly, that people can understand you. And a lot of times when we're working on our speech sounds, especially with Logan now that he's a little bit older and he's in kindergarten now and starting to read sight words and spell, a lot of times we incorporate some of the things, the speech sounds, and let him see the word, how it's spelled out, and then write it how he's saying it. So not only are we helping him with his articulation and how he says it, but those are going to help him with spelling and reading skills in the future, because we're helping him to point out exactly what he's saying and how we need to correct it.
A lot of families look to us for help with speech and language therapy. And one of the best things that can happen is if they happen to notice, or their pediatrician notices that there's a problem, the earlier you can get a child in for therapy is going to be more beneficial throughout life. It'll help reduce bullying in school. It'll help them be understood by their peers, by their family, by anybody who's looking to communicate with them. It'll help them in school to learn easier. It'll help with a job and with starting your own family and falling in love later in life. Who can't use better communication skills? We all probably can, but kids with special needs need a little bit more emphasis and a little bit more help. And that's why our services are so effective with them.